Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got.
Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? You know, sometimes you just want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad. And they're always glad you came. Because you want to be, you want to go where people know. People are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows who you are.
You look tense over there. What's going on, buddy?
I hate this song so much.
Well, this is one of the greatest songs.
I'm sorry. So hot take. I hate this song.
What's the matter with the song?
A visceral. The beginning of Cheers or the beginning of I Love Lucy when I was a kid, it would be like a jump to the knobs on the TV or the remote to change the channel so fast.
So you don't like good things.
I mean, 2 seconds into that, it's like, no.
But what is it about those theme songs? Because they're certainly
the worst.
No!
Like it's I don't know. It was like this is just old and weird and just like I don't want to watch this. And I just like nails on the chalkboard for some people. Or chewing food loudly. Some people.
You think
maybe
Cheers
my wife hates that sound. Yes.
So no cheers from Mike on this one.
The pain of hearing, even though I love our guests, I let Morgan thank you for being here.
I think that was a nice gift.
Yeah. I mean, it was very nice for them to send those clips in. We do appreciate you guys being big fans of the show.
Anytime those guys get together and want to produce some stuff together,
a special thing happens, but I hate that song.
Well, that makes me a little bit disappointed, Mike, because that was such a big part of my childhood.
That's great, man.
I know you might be wondering why a show for adults was part of my childhood.
That's why we weren't friends when we were kids. We wouldn't have clicked. I would have been like, turn it off. Oh.
Well, get this. What I used to do is record just the audio from Cheers that I could listen to on Saturday during the Sabbath when I wasn't supposed to be watching
the song or
TV.
like an episode?
The episode.
So you would listen
I would listen to the entire episode. I would take my tape recorder, and that would give me something to listen to on a Saturday when I wasn't supposed to be watching TV.
So you were listening to you were like an OG podcast listener of a episode.
Exactly. Thank you for seeing it that way.
Well, that's actually kind of impressive.
Well, my mother was in
the song, but
my mom was in the restaurant and bar industry, and so being around that. And Cheers with the whole bar atmosphere. I guess there was something about that I was kind of interested in. Not the drinking part.
I was going to say, were you sitting at the bar throwing back the shots?
I think I was wondering what it was like. You know, my mom would go to work at night, and I'd be there at my grandparents' house, and I was kind of wondering. And Cheers always kind of let me into, okay, this is what life might be like.
She worked there. Everyone knew her name.
Everybody knew her name. She knew everybody else's name. So
it's a terrible song. Can we just agree we will just never play that again?
I can't agree to that, but yeah.
Can we agree never I Love Lucy?
We can negotiate.
Can we just we got to come to a happy
Lucy's out the door. Is that the
Thank you. Yeah, the second that starts. Oh,
sorry, buddy.
No.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I'm so mad. I'm so angry.
That's one of the greatest things that when I think about when Norm would walk in and everybody would shout Norm, and they just all had their different roles, their different personalities, and so that always appealed to me.
There's clearly more meaning to it for you than for me.
I might put more meaning on things
just a little bit.
Right. We talked a whole episode about my driveway replacement, so
that's true. True.
But yeah, I like the thought of that. I like the community aspect of that. We're big on community, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Community is something we've been talking about on here. Knowing that doesn't seem to always be easy, especially for men. And don't take this as me not saying that it's important for women, because it's important for women. Women are great. We support women.
I think women. Well, I feel like women struggle with this just as much as guys. No,
you don't think it's a little bit easier for them, or
it's funny. I thought that, but call me crazy. The more women I've met as I've gotten older, I think there's some similar It's maybe slightly different on like a method, but I think deep down, a lot of the principles are still the same. Like I feel like guys, I mean, what do? We like the, oh, hey man, like, what do you do for a living? Right. Or,
usually the first thing we ask when we meet
basically,
somebody new, right?
yeah, I don't want to say size each other up. It's not always necessarily like that, but it's like a quick evaluation. What do you do? And sometimes you shake hands and then you might meet someone else. You're like, oh yeah, like we're friends. You know, guys are really quick to be like, oh, we're friends. But I think a lot of women will wait till it's a little bit deeper. But there's still some type of blockage, I think, for men and women to go beyond maybe that first step. Which is something interesting to unpack. Like, why do you think? Okay, so cheers, right? Now, you were older than me back in the day because you're like 75. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yes.
I was probably like a little infant, changing the TV channel.
Just a tiny little
like
baby.
That. Yeah, little baby. Had baby head just falling over on the couch. So I'm assuming that what that show was appealing, obviously, because of the community. So it seems like the test of time, whether it's 75 years ago or recent, we're hungry for it. We want it. We want the community factor, but it's still a challenge, right?
It is. It is. I think everybody wants to belong to a particular tribe or group. I think that's, when you're growing up and you're playing sports, or if you're, in activities, with similar interests, you're trying to find a group of people that you belong to. That's part of what we do here, in our church world too, is
sure.
we advocate for life groups. We advocate for being in a community of someplace where you can be known, someplace where you can gather on a regular basis. And so that's, not just our church, it's churches all across the world.
Well, good context too, life group, basically what anyone could be thinking, a small group. Basically, you go from a large gathering on a Sunday or a large gathering in any kind of context for people. Let's say there's 100 people in the room. You can't know 100 people. Yeah. I mean, you can try, but it's just, it's
not going to happen.
So you need some type of smaller breakout level of community. So like you said, like it could be a sports team, like a softball team you're playing on. It could be a small group at a church, some smaller level where you can actually try to go beyond the first step with someone.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
It's trying.
Yeah.
And actually making an effort to get in there and participate, to be known. Can you be in a life group and not be known?
Oh yeah, I think you can be anywhere. I think you could be. I think you could hold back. I think it's what we do. I think we. I'm not the expert at this, but I think we're afraid a lot, even though we want the community to go past the first step. Like, have you ever been in that situation where you go, "Hey, so what do you do?" And they tell you, and they ask you, you answer, and you're like, "Well, big gulp, son. Yep. Like, see you later."
What stacks did they put out? Yeah, and then the rest of the time,
and then that's about it.
Snacking and looking for somebody else to talk to. Right?
You're looking around the room like at a middle school dance. You don't want to make direct eye contact with someone. It's just all awkward. But yeah, I don't like. Why are we
afraid?
Yeah. Why are you afraid? Or have you? I mean, sure, you've been there. Like,
yeah, I think. Well, it is hard to nail down. It really is.
Are you getting afraid? Are you getting afraid right now?
Well, I mean, it's just me and you and an audience out there that's listening. So, what's to be afraid of,
Yeah, it's no big deal.
Sure. I think bringing people up to speed, context-wise, of who you are and what you've been through can be challenging unless you are just somebody who can do that with ease and,
That's hard to do.
That is hard.
It takes time. It takes vulnerability.
I think that's the key right there is the vulnerability.
Yeah. You got to open yourself. You got to be willing to open yourself up over and over again, which, not to go off on too many segues here, but I mean, maybe that's also an issue why it's harder when people get older, men or women get older on making friends. It's the thought of, I got to do this again and start over. I'm not saying I'm right in that. I'm assuming there might be some variant of that.
There could certainly be some, events that took place as a result of sharing that before too, where maybe it wasn't as well received, or maybe you did open up to somebody and it didn't make your relationship any deeper. There was no reciprocation there, where that could enter into it too and cause us to want to be hesitant about, letting other people in. So vulnerability, kind of that having been burned before could enter into it.
I mean, sometimes maybe just also we don't want to make the time. Yeah. We just look at someone like, that's going to cost me a lot of time and I'm busy. I don't have that time, or I have enough friends. I've had someone tell me that before. It's just straight up. I mean, I do appreciate the honesty. I appreciate when someone's black and white, blunt, honest. I have had literal, I'm all set on my friends. It's like, wow.
Lockdown. Taking applications.
There's a part of me that was like, well, okay, you're very confident, and I appreciate the directness, but it was very interesting. It was clearly like, okay, this person, obviously in this season of life, believes there's no chance to make any other time for people. But I know also he was not alone in thinking that. We may not say that to each other, but I think sometimes we're thinking that. We're thinking, man, where's the time?
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. I could see where you might feel that way. But I do think that the most dangerous thing is just not having the self-reflection there to say, okay, I need to do this. I actually need to be close with people. I need to let people in. And then also I need to be there for when other people are kind of letting me in. So just not even being aware of it, I think is, one of the biggest reasons and dangers of not
I wonder
growing.
I don't think I really valued community till a little bit later in my life, but I think it's because I had to experience sometimes isolation, or depression, or being alone, or not being challenged, or getting lazy or apathetic, or just all these issues that seem to creep up into our lives when we're by ourselves. It was hard for me to see, because everyone's like community and friends and have like your buddies. And it was hard for me early on to kind of jump on that wagon, because I'm like, are you just saying that because everyone else says that? But then to experience also the other side of not having a lot of friends, it just made it so much more valuable. It's like I could tangibly like taste and feel it. Like, friends are critical. Like I can come alive with friends in a way that's impossible in isolation. It's just so hard though, because it's like you want people to know that without having to have the negative consequence of no friends. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you value friendships, but was that just an innate desire since you just knew that? Or
not as an only kid growing up. I really had to learn the value of that. And, I've had my missteps too. I've lost friendships for kind of treating them casually and or just maybe losing them is not the way to say it. They just aren't as strong as they could be by not having spent the time on there, or maybe not even being vulnerable enough or letting people in. And so having learned that, it makes it more of a valuable thing for me to be as vulnerable as I can, especially these days now as I'm getting to be 75. So want to use time.
When you say vulnerable, it gives me a mental image of how I think sometimes we'll share 80% of ourselves and we'll hold back 20%.
Yeah.
And then with our really close friends, I think maybe we'll bump it up to 90, but we'll still hold back, at least in my opinion, maybe the last 10%. Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a 95.5 friend out there, but it's like, I think we're just so afraid to be 100% authentic, and mixed motivations, I'm assuming, as to why. But there's so much more freedom. And I'm not saying I have the friendships out there that I'm 100% to zero, but it's like, I want to keep striving to be more than like 90-10.
Yeah. And I think that's good too, for your friendships, because the less amount of, or at least I can't talk right now.
That's all right. So you're 75. So
yeah, the smaller the group of friends, the more that you're actually, kind of unloading on them, I would say. It gets to be a little bit heavy. So I do fear for the relationships where, the wife is the only friend that the husband has, or vice versa. And, they not only have to be a friend, they have to be, wear so many different hats in that relationship. And, to not have any good friends and not to have people that you can be authentic with, then that's just a heavy weight to bear.
So how would you define, like, just for fun, what's a really good friend to you?
Just the type of friend?
Yeah. Like what defines a real friend? You know, not the, I know an accountant, his name is Jimmy, I met him on the elevator. Like, obviously not him.
Yeah, I love the friendships that I really value are where you have history together of things that you've done together. And so the activity, that history, the inside jokes, all of those are just, they add a lot to that. But really when it boils down to it, the friendship is somebody that you can talk about anything in your life and say, I'm struggling here, and know that they're going to weigh in with some, they're going to listen first.
Yeah.
And then
that's good.
They may offer advice. They may not. They might just listen and say, hey, you're going to figure this out because I know you, and you're going to get in the word and you're going to spend time with Christ. And, or they might say, you know what, this is what I'm hearing, and this is some honest truth. I would say, some of my best friends have been able to tell me very truthful things at the time that I've needed to hear it. And I value those.
Yeah. So someone to spend real time with,
really
listen. You can they can listen, they can speak into your life. They have that permission. I mean, you said history, but I guess when you start off with no history, it's that willingness to, maybe start small, but spend more and more time with them, start sharing more. Any relationship has to take time. There's no way we can be best friends overnight.
Sure. And, a lot of the history that you kind of compensate for with somebody that you haven't spent a lot of time with, would be maybe similar things that are going on in life, being parents, different roles that you play, as husbands and, for the ladies as wives, the different shared experiences that you have, whether you've shared them together or not.
I appreciate you sharing about the ladies, and you're talking about women too. So not just men.
No.
Yeah.
No, this is
Did you say
everybody.
Ladies just for the wives?
For the wives.
Is that what you said?
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you for seeing through
I
that.
was just curious. No, I was just curious.
I'm being vulnerable with you right now.
Single.
That's exactly why, Mike, is because
you're like, this
I
is
don't
why
want
I'm
any
not
repercussions.
this is why I'm not fully vulnerable with you, Mike. Because
I don't
once
want to
I
be
am,
the
you
guy.
tear it out of my heart.
I want to be the guy out of this duo that is.
We'll listen to some Cheers music or something at the end of this to kind of heal your heart.
I would love to hear that sweet piano music.
Yeah, sweet and terrible music. So it's just, I'm going down a bad path.
Well, I'm a friend of yours. I'll listen to you and what happened there with Cheers.
I want you to listen to like some Creed, something like that. Some good.
Oh man,
some good Creed, Nickelback.
With arms wide open, Mike.
Maybe some techno. Listen to some techno. Like see how it. Yeah. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots. Okay, we got way off here, way off on the topic. Yeah, so I was talking with a buddy coincidentally earlier today.
A good buddy, like a buddy that you can.
It is actually a really good buddy, and we talked about as you get older, it seems to be easier to keep up with friendships when you can mutually encourage each other and kind of just talk about like-minded things going on in your lives. But without that, we were talking about how hard it is to keep up with friendships. There takes some intentionality, but it's like, that just made me think if it's just surfacey, it's like, I don't know if this is me coming from an older guy. Okay. Although I think I thought the same way when I was 20, but if we're just going to be surfacey and that's it, that's just empty to me. Like I walk away from those conversations like, what was that? That felt like a waste of time for both of us, and not just for me. Like it just felt fake. You know what? That's what it is.
What kind of topics are you talking about? Just so that you
like it stays surfacey. Oh, so like how was like work this week for you? And like what did you? How was your summer? And it like just surfacey things you could like write in a yearbook on someone when you're signing, but just nothing else. Just those interactions when you walk away and you're kind of like, well, if that happened again or never happened again, nothing in our lives would have ever been different. Like it was just like literally taking up space. That's just kind of how it's just a feeling that I think it's when it feels fake to me. And I know sometimes you have to do that to start friendships, But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm like when you're on like round 20 with someone and it's at the same level.
It's just not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think those are really hard to keep up with in general. Then certainly as you get older, I think they kind of fizzle away. It's probably fair to say that maybe they should fizzle away. They should go to the next friend where they can find maybe like-minded things with them, and then I move on to another friend like that.
So who would want that, I guess, is the question. Is just meeting for meeting's sake and not really...
I think when we talk about it like this,
down the road.
I think when we say it like this, I don't think anyone would want it, but I feel like in practice it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe that's social media too. I think people sometimes walk around thinking they have a lot of friends. Like, oh yeah, I know like 100 people, but I mean, do we really? Like, do they really have that many friends? I don't know. I think sometimes we're a little fooled, me included, thinking that the community is there, but that's why I was kind of asking you, what do you think a real friend is? So, I mean, I was trying to have some self-reflection on, do I really have like a handful of men around me that I have that kind of relationship with?
Yeah, and where you don't, there's opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's opportunity to go a little bit deeper when it comes to those friendships. And so I think a lot of it has to do with leading the way in that. And guess what? You're going to find out sooner or later whether or not that's reciprocated. But if not, then, you at least, you made the effort.
I was talking with Matthew about that on just making friends. And the pursuing, and I don't know I'm curious what your take is on this. I'm a big believer just to go ahead and just pursue friends, like take the first step. I mean, I guess the worst thing is they could say no. And yes, that does sting. So I don't want to overlook that. But if I look at 10 people in a room and I just pursue all of them, well, some will respond and some won't. And like that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a little unrealistic to think everyone has to respond to you and be a friend. And whenever I seem to take that posture, things seem to go better. And then there's different seasons of life that there's some friends that are closer than others, and that's okay. But I seem to not be lacking friends in my life. But the rub is, do we take those first steps and pursue, or do we kind of expect them to come to us?
I think we pursue, and this is something that we're working with Clara on too, especially in middle school, and with the changing landscape of friendships. You may have a group of friends, and that group of friends may change, and there might be new people into that group. There might be people leaving that group, and so what we've been talking about a lot lately is friends aren't made for us. We're made for friends. And so to move forward and pursue those friendships, be a good friend, and let your concentration be there. And if we start getting into a habit of, well, my friends are here for me, then we get a little possessive there, and that's not good for anybody, because then if those friendships change, then it feels like you've lost something versus actually made it stronger or contributed to something.
I like that phrase a lot. Say that phrase again.
That friends are not made for, we're made for friends. Is that?
You're like,
I'm trying to remember the wording there.
Well, you said, I think
everybody wants to know your name.
Friends aren't made for us. Like, friends aren't made for us.
We're made for
friends.
We are.
That's a really good, I like that. I'm going to steal that for our own kids. And they're going to be like, Dad, that wisdom was so great. I'm like, thank you, children.
Then play them.
You're
Friends
welcome.
are friends
You're
forever.
Oh, that's another song. That's another, we can't.
You don't like that song either?
No, okay, are you going to tell me you like that song? Our friendship is changing during this episode.
I might give Morgan a call and see if he likes it, because
isn't that song like the early 90s, like Christian?
What's wrong with the early 90s, Mike?
It's I like the 90s, but not their friends are friends forever. Kumbaya. Christian.
You didn't like that one?
Oh, you like it, don't you?
No, actually, Mike, that wasn't one of my favorites.
You had me. I thought you liked that one. It's okay. You can like it.
It was a little too friendly for me. I couldn't identify with it.
Yeah, that's too much. I can't do that. No, I really like we are made for friends. Like, we're made for relationships. They're not made for us. I think that is a really good analogy I want to keep in my head, because that keeps me as the pursuer. And then if it doesn't happen in response, that's okay. Like that that doesn't mean it has to be the end of the world. You try, you just trust whoever responds. Those are real friends anyway. Right. If you're having to chase down someone to respond to you, I mean, it's not really a friend in that season of time, at least. Maybe it's that season of time, but I really like we are made for community, like for friends.
I think that lines up with your favorite Bible verse.
We love because Jesus first loved us.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
It puts
Is that what you were talking
the right
about?
emphasis. That is exactly what it is. And again, we'll go back to The Chosen because I've just enjoyed watching it.
Sure. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
What a great picture of, Jesus serving his disciples and meeting them where they're at.
Yeah.
Whenever they're going through struggles, he's getting on their level, and he's trying to be as much of a friend as he can while telling the truth, while being God, while doing everything that we know Jesus to be.
Yeah.
I think that's a great example to follow.
Yeah.
It's the best example to follow.
Yeah.
How would Jesus approach this friendship?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly vulnerable, certainly truthful, certainly seeking out that person. I think there's just a lot that we can learn from our Lord and Savior about how we approach that, and it never gets selfish in that end. And then I think it creates stronger friendships as a result of that.
I guess you're just emptying yourself and out serving one another. I guess if you just take the posture of I'm just going to empty.
Yeah.
I don't need to be refilled by the person. I'm here to serve. And you trust that I guess you get refilled from the Lord, but I'm just going to go for friends and be there for them, pray for them, text them, call them, think of them, go, play with them, hang out, whatever. And like, what do you have to lose? What do we really have to lose at the end of the day?
I don't think so. If we have the wrong expectation that it's going to be reciprocated, then, we can get hurt as a result of that. So that kind of tests the motivation there to begin with. Are we doing so that we can have done back to us, or are we doing just for the sake of serving that person? And guess what? It works in marriage too. That is our number one friendship, right?
Yeah.
And so where I know whenever I'm selfish and whenever I feel like, okay, well, my wife's not giving me the attention that I want, that's usually because I'm not serving her in the way that I need to be serving her.
Yeah.
And so
do you start jumping up and down, like screaming whenever that's not happening, or throw yourself on the ground and run in circles like Curly on Three Stooges if you're not getting the attention at home?
No, I'm not a child.
Wow, I took that seriously. Okay, sorry. I can't even look at you right now. I didn't realize it was such a serious response. Our friendship is changing.
If the answer is yes, then there's a big problem there too.
You're like, whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, that'd be a big problem.
No, so I don't get that right. I'm going to go ahead and guess that maybe you don't get that right at times.
Yeah.
Too.
How dare you judge me?
Yeah.
No, 100%. I will. Yes, when I'm not taking that posture of just emptying myself and I'm doing anything for any kind of response, clearly I'm already off of my motivation, and I'm always going to, I think I'm always going to be let down because it's just not loving. Like it's just like a selfish, it sounds gross saying it, but when I do it, it's just a selfish gimme in response.
Yeah.
And if we really want to go deep with it, I'm using the person for my own satisfaction. Whether it's my wife or a friend for maybe validation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe the encouragement, for us and for anyone listening, is there might even be people you're thinking of right now. And we would say it's worth it to take the first step every time and pursue. It might be a phone call, it might be a text, it might be, I don't know what that is, for you listening, but it's such a worthwhile pursuit. But let me ask you a question. There's going to be someone listening to this and just go, I don't need to do it. I don't have the time. I don't really see the need for it. I have a couple people in my life. may not really talk to them very much, but like they exist. So if I ever need something, I'll reach out. So like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, that gets to be very short-sighted because you never know what's around the corner. And I don't mean to be a fatalist here, but you never know how long you have with people. And so if you have a support system that's built on just a few people, you might not have that there when you feel like you need it the most.
Yeah.
And so better to practice the art of being vulnerable and getting to know people and letting them in and know you, because you never know.
You know, it makes me think, and this is going to sting, and that's for me first before anyone else. I think it's also kind of a prideful stance, you know, and I know that's a big word, but I think it's underestimating how powerful real good community is. And like you said, you don't know maybe how long someone's going to be around. You also don't know what's right around the corner in terms of like a trial that's about to hit you.
There you go.
And if sometimes a trial hits you so hard, I mean, you need people like even physically sometimes right there ready to go, like you can barely even reach out to them. And so I think sometimes it's a little bit of assuming that you kind of have control of your life and you are in charge of your schedule and to-do lists, and you know when you get in the car you'll make it from point A to point B, and we're just not promised that. And that's we've talked about our stories in past episodes, and anyone can go listen to those. I mean, my life has just been this up and down, detoured, weird map journey that I actually look back and I wouldn't have it any other way. But it has not been like this linear one path thing at all. And my guess is I don't think anyone's life has really been that way. And so the need for community is so real, especially as we get older. But in any season we're at, I don't think we're exempt from that.
You just pointed out something there too, which kind of helps the conversation here. That you never know somebody's story. It might look like it's a linear path for somebody, and you might not ask. You might just assume, hey, this is what they're about, and this is what they do. So it means that they must have walked this path, and you have no idea unless you actually kind of reach in and offer to listen and offer to get to know that person.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you mean like take them to a bar, right?
I mean, you may go to a bar. You might go to something like, like what we have this weekend, the men's retreat.
It's a much better option.
But if you are getting together with people, which
maybe not at
the
a bar.
fall is a great time of people getting together. And
then,
it's
not 105 degrees.
As we get into the wintertime here in Texas too, or wherever you're at, people tend to gather. Yeah. It's just a good way to get to know people and then to be known and, make some friends.
Some friends, like friends
that are friends
forever. Friends are friends forever.
If, Mike.
Oh, you're doing it.
You're
Lord singing it. No.
Is the Lord.
Stop.
Of all of them.
No! No!
Thanks so much for joining us. Please consider rating and reviewing our podcast and hitting subscribe on whichever platform you prefer. Remember to keep moving forward because we're not quite there.
Most of the time, we consider the furniture in our homes to be functional and complementary of the room. But what if your furniture also told a story? I'm Mark Latham, Executive Director of Latitudes in Southlake, where you'll find just that, stories. They're told through our furniture, home decor, and other artisan-made products, all supporting employment projects around the world. At Latitudes, it's more than a product. It's a beautiful story. For details and directions, visit latitudestx.com. That's latitudestx.com.